Okay, students, welcome to the COVID protocol update. So we can give this to you so you're ready to come into school tomorrow and on May 3rd. So what's happening in the next 2 weeks? April 26th, you'll see we have freshman cohort 1 as well as senior cohort 1. So basically, we have consolidated the initial 3 cohorts that we have created into 2. That was a challenge to then balance our schedules, but we have, and the teachers have been very busy preparing their rooms to welcome you this week and beyond. With 2 cohorts, we are now able to have each cohort come in weekly. So you can see we're going to continue with our AB days, but again, we'll have cohort 1 on Mondays and Tuesdays and cohort 2 Wednesdays and Thursdays. At this point, Fridays are remaining virtual. So we are going to be keeping our schedule. The schedule is for all students, regardless if you are hybrid or virtual. The reason we arrange the periods is to have the student lunch periods 5, 6, and 7, bookending the school days so we can have staggered student entrances and dismissals during the day. Students who have period 6 lunch, you guys are dismissed at 11 a.m. on an A day. If you are a bus student and need the bus, then just go to the West Gym where you can continue to do work there. On B days, students with a period 5 lunch, for example, do not come to school until 9 a.m. If a student has a lunch at period 7, then she leaves at 11. But make sure to be home for your afternoon virtual activities like conferencing or period 9. So this is what our schedule will look like. Again, Monday, April 26th is an A day, and we'll start with period 1. So if you're a freshman or senior at that point, you can come in at 7:50. The school is open at 7:50, again, if you have a period 1. If you don't, then you come in at period 2. Again, unless you're a bus student, then you'll be there for period 1, and you can always go to the West Gym. That's where we will be having students there who don't have a specific class at the beginning or end of day, or if your teacher is absent. Same thing now with Tuesday, which is going to be a B day. You can see again, it's our same 5, 4, 8, 7 schedule, followed by a lunch, and then period 9. Period 9 will always be virtual. So just a reminder, that's how we're doing it, okay? Now, I do want to emphasize that safety is our top priority. Yes, we are returning to school, and that is awesome. However, this pandemic is not over. We still have to be vigilant and continue the mitigating safety precautions to stay safe. So, how do you protect yourself from COVID-19? Again, you stay home if you're sick, if you show any of the COVID symptoms. Cover your mouth with a mask. That is, and we will talk about that in a little moment about what masks are required. Always wash your hands. We have sanitation stations throughout the school and hand sanitizers in every single classroom. Keep distance. 6 feet is still required by the CDC. When I say required, it's what's best practiced by the CDC for young adults as yourself. In the elementary schools, we're going down to 3 feet, but our goal here at the high school is to maintain 6 feet distances. So as you can see, a little movement over there. And of course, clean surfaces regularly. We'll do that cleaning for you. Every day we'll do deep cleaning. But again, the CDC has now really said that COVID is more about an airborne situation. But again, let's be safe and cautious. In fact, great news, teenage vaccinations are now allowed and being offered by the state of New Jersey. All you have to do for 16 and over, all you have to do is go to covid19.nj.gov for vaccine, or I would just go to the Essex County one. I do believe Essex County will be for 18 and above because that's the Pfizer one is for under 18. And I think you might have to go to either Passaic or Morris County for that. But again, if you're getting that vaccine, that will allow you some changes in our quarantining protocols. So you might be very interested in doing that. So let's talk about our safety protocols while we're at that. On average, we will have about 200 students per day that first week. After that, on May 3rd, we'll have on a daily basis about 400 students at Columbia High School. So it's really important, and this is no ifs, ands, or buts. Students must have completed the student compliance form before coming in. We have been making phone calls, making sure that you have done that. And we'll talk about that compliance form in a moment. So please make sure that is done or you will be sent home. Also, you must have an ID. When you come in on the first day, you will be given a colored sticker for your identification, for your ID, and that will signify which cohort you are in. This will help us monitor which students come in every day and ensure that we are in a true pod for safety reasons, okay? So freshmen already have their lanyards and ID cards. Seniors, you should have your own identification card, but we'll provide you the stickers and we'll provide you with the lanyards as well when you come in on Monday. So what do we mean by this compliance form? This compliance form basically states that you will come into school healthy. If you're not feeling well, then you must stay home. Your parents are agreeing to take your temperature every single day. That's what our staff does. That's what I do. We have to make sure we come in healthy. Check for COVID symptoms and always pack a mask. In fact, I'm a forgetful person, so I have an extra one in my car and I also have a couple in my office just in case. So bring a backup. And we all have to quarantine when needed. And we'll explain what the quarantine process is. Before we do that, though, let's talk about how to get to school. So for drop off, I've noticed that when we had freshmen, a lot of parents were dropping off their students right here in front of the cafeteria, which makes sense because that's the entrance. But unfortunately, we have teachers also coming in here at the same time. We have a flagpole, by the way, in the middle of that parking lot. I'm not sure why. And then it's just too much chaos to have people coming in and then leaving and other people coming in. So here's what we're going to do. You can be dropped off because again, and I have to stress this, I'm sorry, seniors, that we do not have parking this year due to an issue with our bus parking lot. We had to move the buses. The district had to move the buses to the senior lot. So unfortunately, we do not have senior parking. So I understand we'll have more drop-offs than we usually do. So what we're going to do is that you can be dropped off if you want, of course, in the gym parking lot. You could be dropped off along Academy Street. We don't really want parents to drop their children off on the middle of Parker because it's a busy street. So instead, we're going to open up the circle in the mornings only. I would do this through this direction, always making a right. So if you live in this area of town, I would go around here so that you are traveling west on Parker, where it's easier to make a right. You could drop off your child right here on the circle. And then again, instead of trying to make a left, causing a lot of traffic, just make a right. And then you can make either a right onto Valley or a left onto Valley or keep going straight to ease traffic concerns. This circle is where you can drop your child off in the front of the school. Because it's not too wide, right? I'm not going to open it up after school because I think what's going to happen probably is we'll have parents waiting here, and I know how my teenage daughter works. She'd be over here somewhere when I text, hey, I'm here to pick you up, and by the time my daughter would get to the circle, we'd be all backed up across Parker. So we're only going to open up the circles in the morning where you already have your daughter or son, your child in the car to drop off. So we'll see how this works. Something new. Okay. Of course, students can also always walk to school. Please remember that the school is open at 7:50 a.m. So definitely come in at 7:50 because we will start classes promptly at 8 a.m. So even though drop-offs are here, you can do here or in this gym area. Let's talk about where students kind of come in the morning. We used to always allow our students to come in through the main entrance, but again, we want to stagger student entrance to be safe. We want to also have different doors. So freshmen have been doing a great job coming in through the cafeteria. That's going to stay. 11th graders and sophomores who come in on May 3rd, 10th graders, you'll have the back by Ritzer. 11th graders will come in through the gym. Seniors, you will continue to have the main door. All right, so you guys can congregate in this area in the front of the school, and at 7:50, come right through the front. Just want to make sure, of course, bus students know that you're going to be dropped off on Academic Street and you can go in through those doors regardless of your grade. You don't have to walk all the way around to, let's say you're a junior and walk to the main gym. So you'll be the only students who will be allowed to come in through those doors. Visitors are not allowed at this time. So therefore, all parent meetings will be conducted via an online platform or by phone. Only essential personnel are allowed in the building based on administrative approval. Those who are deemed essential and who receive administration approval must follow the safety protocols and have their temperatures taken. Okay. So at the front doors, we also will have some boxes because we do know that some students have not returned their books from last year. Hey, freshmen, you might still have books from Maplewood Middle School or SOMS. You might have library books. That's fine. That's great. No amnesty, no fines, no punishment, but we do want them back. So, any unreturned textbooks, please bring them in so we can return them and save us from buying new books. So just drop them off at those entrances. Okay, so let's talk about attendance. A child. So let's see. Let's just kind of make sure we have the correct information. If you are a hybrid student, you are expected to be in school during those days only. So if you're cohort one, you come to cohort one days only, okay? If you come to the wrong day, we will have to escort you home. If you're a hybrid student now who can't come to the building that day, you might have a doctor's appointment, maybe you're quarantining. That doesn't mean you're absent. You still attend class virtually. That's all. But do us a favor, it is a challenge for our teachers to do attendance to see who's on site, who's online, who's on site, or who's online but should be on site. So if you're going to do that, if you're not going to be coming to school that day, please email your teachers and give them a heads up. Now, we understand we have some hybrid students who want to wait a week, right? Because they're getting their second vaccine this week and they want to wait till next week. That's fine. You let me know that. But we really don't want anyone to just put themselves in as hybrid and just wait until May or wait until June to see what the numbers are like. If you are hybrid, then we do expect you to come in during your days. So let's talk about quarantining for a moment. Um, because we have some changes here. So, for example, if you are now a fully vaccinated student, now what does that mean, fully vaccinated? That means it's been more than 2 weeks since you received your second dose of Pfizer or Moderna. It has been more than 2 weeks since you've received your first and only dose of Johnson and Johnson, and you have clinically recovered from COVID in the past 3 months. That's what we mean by fully vaccinated, right? Well, that means you don't have to quarantine for domestic travel. That's important for our seniors, I know, who are going out to colleges and checking to see which one they want to go to, right? So now if you go out of state, and when I mean out of state, exclude the tri-state area and Delaware, you will not need to quarantine. International travel, well, you do not need to quarantine after travel if you are, again, fully vaccinated. So that is great. For non-vaccinated students, it's now 10 days, not 14 days for travel. But speak with nurses Krigler and Shook for the exact process, please. So I wanted to make sure you understood that there's been some changes to our travel quarantine. This is not exposure quarantine, but travel quarantine. What else do we need to know about coming in and safety? Well, our mask policy. Students are required to wear masks at all times. These masks are required in the building, on buses, during um, school, even during sports after school, other than when there's aerobic activity, and on school grounds at all times. Hybrid students who refuse to wear a mask will be transferred to fully remote mode. This is done as a safety precaution for peers and for staff. Each student, um, if you need a mask, we will provide you with a mask from the school. Students should also carry a backup in their backpack every day, just in case. Students are not required to wear a district issued mask, but, and this is important, students cannot wear the following coverings, okay? Students cannot wear neck gaiters, bandanas, mesh masks, or masks containing a vent. If that is the case, we will ask you to take that mask off and we will give you a district issued mask. As expected, all masks must be appropriate and follow the dress code. So that's really important to emphasize, just to give you a visual of what we mean by masks, right? Um, you don't have to double mask. If you do, that's awesome, but that's your choice. It has to completely cover your nose and mouth and fit snugly against the sides of your face, okay? It cannot have a valve, as you can see in this visual. And, you know, uh, the N95 masks are great. We do want them for our health um, care workers when they're low. But of course, you can wear that, but we ask you to consider that. Again, no neck gaiters though either. So just a reminder, okay? So now that you're in the building, how do you get to class, right? So let's talk about that. Due to the size of Columbia High School, hallways cannot be one way. All right, but all staircases will be directional as they will be up or down staircases. Maps will be provided to students upon entrance, where freshmen have that. But due to best practice security protocols, we can't post the building map here, obviously, on the internet, right? We don't want that to be released. So anyway, each hallway, as you can see from the visual, is divided by red dots, and students must stay to the right when traveling in the halls. Students will have 10 minutes between classes to get to their next class, so no one's going to be tardy. But you can see there's plenty of time and plenty of ways to get to class. There are also scores, and I mean scores, of hand sanitizing stations in each classroom and throughout the hallway. Make sure to sanitize your hands after each class. We really appreciate it. We are just reminding students to bring their own water bottles because the water fountains should not be used until we have them all securely flushed. So just a little tip there, and you can see a visual of what we mean and what the school looks like at this point. In-class learning. So teachers will assign you seats. This is important because we do need to have the most efficient distancing possible. Desks, tables, and chairs are not to be moved in the classroom at any time. To assist us with social contacting, teachers will create seating charts. So students are to remain in their assigned seats unless directed by the teacher to move or change their seats. Students must observe social distancing at all times. In classroom activities, will be limited to those that allow for social distancing. If you get this handout, you'll also be able to click on a document that gives you Wi-Fi instructions for students to be able to reach our Wi-Fi platform. Okay? And notice, of course, here, bring headphones to avoid feedback since you're all going to be in the same online Canvas or Google Meet. Okay, pretty cool. There you can see what the classrooms have looked like. Our teachers have done an incredible job making sure that they are ready for the rosters that were given to you. Okay, so what happens when someone has a COVID positive case? There's no change here. Parents must come immediately and notify me, regardless if you're a hybrid or virtual student. This will allow our pandemic response team to notify those who need to quarantine, whether it's teachers, students, teammates, bus drivers, etc. We keep track of this on our dashboard and we make decisions on closing if necessary. I do want you to know the readmittance policy for students who are positive will be consistent with the state health department guidelines. They include being free of fever without the use of fever reducing medications for the period of time directed by the local health department current guidelines. And so let me just kind of give you an overall look at what our dashboard looks like. Usually it's more of a table and it tells you exactly how many positive cases we had this week at each of our schools. At Columbia, this past week, we had 0 positive cases, although we had several reports of student exposure, or in other words, a parent tested positive or a sibling. And so those students were great. They notified us and they're quarantined, but again, they're not positive. So we had 0 positive cases this past week. The district had 6, which, as you can see, is down from 13 from the week before. It's really important that we are transparent with our numbers so that you have the confidence of coming back to school. Again, all positive cases should come to Mr. Sanchez so we can definitely do this quickly. Now, quickly and confidentially. So what happens if you have to quarantine from exposure? Well, again, this is why we ask if a classmate of yours tests positive, if you're not within 6 feet of that classmate in that classroom, which you shouldn't, there will be no need to quarantine you. We have been quarantining students, especially in sports, because, again, some of our sports this past season were indoors, and the students don't have their masks on during aerobic activities. So that makes sense. But for the most part, we won't be quarantining classrooms if there is a positive case. But when we do set up a quarantine, there have been some changes. So let's listen up. For fully vaccinated students, now again, that's someone who has been more than 2 weeks since you received your second dose of Pfizer or Moderna, or it's been 2 weeks since you received your 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson, or it has been within the 3 months since you have contracted COVID, you do not have to quarantine, right? You don't have to quarantine because now you're fully vaccinated. However, if you are not fully vaccinated, then we will give you our 14-day calendar. And so for 14 days, you will have to stay home and self-monitor. There's no testing in. Just that's important. I know we get these questions sometimes. Oh, my child then tested negative. We understand that, but we can't keep track of testing and that sort of thing. So the CDC guidelines is to say you can't test in, you hang out at home. But that's okay. You got school virtually, so it's not a bad deal. Oh, and then we get to student lunches. Again, we're not having lunch at school, right? There's no eating at school. But great news, all hybrid students in session can pick up a free lunch. That's all students, regardless, all students pick up a lunch at dismissal. And that will be, though, at the main entrance. So students can exit through any door, but if they want the free lunch, they go through the main door. Other cohorts who are at home and virtual students continue to pick up lunch if you want at Columbia High School cafeteria at 12:15 or 2:45, or you can go to Seth Boyden. Okay? So just make sure you are aware that you can pick up that lunch. I think that's it, everyone. I can't wait to have you all back here safe. It's going to be great to see our students back in school and have that crackling energy in the halls at Columbia. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we'll see our seniors and freshmen on Monday, April 26th, and everyone else on the week of May 3rd. Have a great day.